Hello, I am continuing my research course on the couple projects. One, the Scots Monkey Trial, and then the war between science and religion. This week, looking at the American history and life with full text. And I have three sources I'd like to just share with you briefly. Brian LUO's work on science and religion, a historical perspective on the conflict over teaching evolution in the schools, is quite an interesting piece of work. He examines and updates the state of that teaching in public education pretty much through the years up through 2000, which is a really interesting update, and that the battle still goes on, in particular in states like Arkansas and some others, considering Darwin's theory of evolution. But LUO does show a brief history of both the conflict from Copernicus and the theories of scientific revolutions, which was a Thomas Kuhn theory that in the 1940s and 50s, and how science changed the teaching of science, and public schools became a normal activity with evolution attached to that. Another work that I found interesting was by John Chiesa, The Evolution versus Religion Controversy, How Two Mystiques devolved into Politics. And he basically talks about the work of, how these things got into the political realm out of the religious and scientific realm, and it evolved into a political position. And he likens the problem to a guerrilla war, and that's both Christians and scientists with waging this war, and as he said, quote, scarring the intellectual and moral landscape of with their futile debate. And so I think that's a very telling statement, and I think it adequately describes the culture wars that we are involved in. And so he does spend a great deal of time talking about both science and Christianity theology and how those things developed. The third work by Scott Shibitz is actually a commentary on another book that was written, the book that changed America, How Darwin's Theory of Evolution Ignited America. And he talks about the writings of Randall Fuller's From Battlefields Rising that he published in 2010 about the effect of Darwin's Origin of Species on the American Civil War. That book was published, or that work was published in 1859. And he looks at the intellectual writings in 1859 and how that book had already impacted people like Thoreau, others in that movement, read it very quickly, shared it with others. And so very quickly that book became a book of interest in the discussion of things like they examine race and slavery, religion, science, and culture, and how Darwin's work had an immediate impact. And I found that to be really interesting because most writers prior to that saw that impact coming much after the Civil War, but it was much earlier than that, right at the cusp of the war. And so all three of these works contribute something to my research and thinking, and I appreciate all three of them. Thank you.